All right. Megavanen Melanin. Welcome, allies, to the Why Ukraine live stream. I hope everybody's doing great out there. I am still in a secret part of Ukraine that I can't tell you about. But I can tell you that the internet and the power sucks. So I cannot. Last live stream, we got cut off after about an hour. I started this live stream early because the power schedule says, I should have 2 hours of power. I'm not going to go 2 hours, but they also like to cut us off early here. And to make matters worse, the internet, when the power goes off, the internet goes off. And in fact, 12 hours a day, there's no Wi-Fi, and also no cellular data. It's wild. Hello, everyone. Yeah, OPSEC. Exactly, Richard Stevens. Thank you all for coming. And OPSEC is absolutely necessary. Nikki, Paul, Possum, Ken, Mr. Squiggle, Petra, Silver Earth. Wow. Yes, Shere Khan. Oh my gosh, Shere Khan, I'm so glad that you are back safely. That is great. I hope you had apparently you caught your flight. So that is great news. If there's any weird sounds from my microphone, please let me know, because it's carefully balanced on the edge of my suitcase, which is on the little table in my hotel room. Most of, of course, I teach online English classes. Most of my English classes I've had to go to something of that nature. Anna, thanks for coming. Last White Rose. Awesome. Good to see you. Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you made it back safe, Shere Khan. It was so great to have you last time. And about some of the good news that I can't announce just yet, but maybe we'll talk about it on Saturday. I'm starting with our fundraiser because holy crap, you guys, now this is not, if you've donated by PayPal, okay, I haven't had time to add in the PayPal numbers to this total. I will do that. It's probably going to be Saturday when I get home. So that will get added into, but you guys have just been amazing. And we are, well on our way to getting this truck for these guys. By the way, Richard Stevens, I want to thank you for, I was already planning on doing it, but thank you for lighting a fire under my ass. All of everything that you guys have ordered in the past month, and in fact, for Shere Khan, it's almost a month and a half, is now on order. It's off back order, and I expect when I come home on Saturday, it will be waiting for me, and I will then send it all to you. Also, those of you who ordered tourniquets, there were 19 tourniquets in total that people ordered from. I hope I counted it right, but I know I've taken them off the website right for the time being. But 19 tourniquets in total, and they were sent not to the Alpha Company 1st Battalion, because I called them and they had enough. But I contacted a drone team out in Sloviansk. We desperately need tourniquets because they just lost 3 guys and had like 20 injured. It was just crazy. And so they were like, yeah, we really need tourniquets. The good side of that is that 1st Battalion is telling me, yeah, everybody has 4 or 5 tourniquets at a minimum. So that's great news, to start with. Dimitru, wow, thanks for coming. Cheryl, it's great to see you. GTSY. I'm going to start saying GTSY, like you guys do. So I have a lot to talk about. You guys, you may have noticed the topic for today is it's a pretty strong one. But we're going to get through some of the battlefield news and some of the geopolitics news. I mean, there's just been so much going on. I feel like pieces are moving on the chessboard right now in a big way. That 2 months ago it was not happening. But the piece on the battlefield, I mean, I know that there's a lot of things happening on the battlefield right now. Okay. But the big, I keep saying this, all of those other 57 or whatever attacks that are happening every single day are kind of a distraction from the main Russian attack that's happening right down here. If we look at the deep state map, which we can go to here, and the Russians are advancing here. So this is in the Pokrovsk area. So just to give you a sense, and I know I've been talking about it for a while. So this is, if you remember Avdiivka, and this is really extremely disconcerting. Okay, this is a real freaking issue. And, this, so according to this, Russians capture 2 more villages, the settlement of Sokil and Volshad in Donetsk Oblast, which is right where that black dot is. And if we can find, I don't know if we'll be able to find it on deep state map here, but because these are probably extremely small villages, but it's a constant slow advance. Oh, there it is. There's Sokil and Volshad. And that's, if you remember the last time we spoke on Sunday, this salient was more of a triangle shape, a little more pointy. Now it's more rounded off, so that makes it more defensible. It's much more of a bulge, and I mean, I can't do anything about it, but I just, all we can do is hope that, I mean, these little attacks up here are literally just a distraction. And yeah, Ukraine has to defend itself, but on all fronts, in all areas. But the fact that, and we're talking about Chasiv Yar, right? So Chasiv Yar is the area that's going to get cut off by this salient, okay? And right now, Russia has basically taken the east, this east end, which is like the industrial end, I guess, and these big giant apartments, Panilkas of Chasiv Yar, and it's don't think that this is that, oh, they've had the shells and everything's great. Yeah, Cheryl, I agree with you. So Cheryl says, I'd feel happier about 4th of July if we still had a democracy. Democracy died July 1st, 2024. Yeah. We're going to get to that. We're going to talk about that a little. I mean, it's going to be we're going to, yeah. I had an interesting discussion with some Ukrainians today talking about that situation. So I'll discuss that when we get there. But yeah, any advance is sad news. But this one in particular, I mean, I hate to come in with the hard stuff here, guys, but this is serious. This is serious stuff here. And, it's interesting. So the enemy uses artillery shelling, kamikaze drone launches, and Lancet UAVs to mask their assault efforts. The enemy's tactics are as follows: transport their infantry to the woodland, where the invaders continue on foot, disperse, and attempt to storm it. I mean, it's the same tactics that they've been using, just wash, rinse, repeat. So I thought that this was an interesting article, and I'd like to go through it with you. This is talking about the defense of Kharkiv, and this quotation: "There was no preparation." And look, guys, understand, I freaking support Ukraine, okay? And in every possible way, and that's why I'm sounding the alarm about these things, okay? So this is, I believe it's talking about a guy who he was down in Krinky, which is down in the south end. And if you don't know what Krinky is, so this is in the Kherson region, down here. And it's this tiny little piece of land right here that the Ukrainians have been defending for almost a year now. And the question that people are asking is why. I mean, it was intended as over the summer, last summer, it was intended as, part of the counteroffensive. The counteroffensive that was supposed to take place down here in the Zaporizhia, on the Zaporizhia front in Robatne. So this guy in this article, he was down there and he got moved up to Kharkiv. He got transferred all the way across Ukraine, and the thing is the reason that he was down there in Krinky is because they had their very best guys defending Krinky. Yeah, Paul, it's an interesting question. I put forward the theory that there was a tunnel under the Dnipro River, and it just came out there in Krinky, and that's how they were defending this area, because it's so crazy and impossible that they're still defending that area. So he was transferred, all the way from the bottom to the top of Ukraine. We managed to maintain the bridgehead, but no equipment had crossed it, and we haven't once broken through Russian defensive. So that's talking about Krinky. Okay. And the reason for that is that how are you going to get tanks across this massively wide? Sorry, I'm zooming in too much. I apologize. Across this massively wide river here, and all this crazy mud flats, essentially. You're not. Hello, Keith. Thank you for coming. It's all right. I'm late most of the time. I'll be late for my own funeral. So, you could argue that Ukraine is grinding down Russia, and that's true. I mean, I'm not saying that's not true. Okay. But they're holding this bridgehead for the purpose of, next year. Richard Stevens, yes, my Shopify store is still valid. Last I checked. Yeah, it's all good. Everything's good. Why did some error pop up? Oh my God, not that shit again. Yeah, it's valid. Everything's good. I was just saying earlier that all of the orders that were on back order, they're all ordered. They're coming to me. They should be arriving by Saturday, which is great. And then I can send them off. Yes, yeah, it's absolutely true, Cheryl. Ukraine has destroyed a lot of Russian equipment in Krinky, absolutely. But I would just posit that um, anything less than like 5-1 in terms of losses on the, or even 6-1. I mean, 6-1 is what Ukraine's doing right now by many estimates in terms of Ukrainian losses to Russian losses, and that's good. But anything less than that, 4-1, 3-1, Ukraine is losing, straight up. And other people have said that too. Pete being one of them. So let's talk about. I want to get down through this article. Talking about the Kharkiv region, and it's just interesting. He said everything happened in a hurry, and there was no preparation. Everyone is here: Marines, assault forces, the State Border Guard Service, regular infantry, territorial defense, and national police. There are more drones. There are also more drones in the sky compared to the east bank of the Dnipro. So this is my concern, is that basically in a panic, and I don't know, okay, I'm not saying that I'm have any secret information, but in a panic, basically Ukraine was forced to throw all of this effort into defending Kharkiv, while meanwhile the real offensive is happening here. And because of the lack of no preparation, Ukraine and Ukrainians, I would say, in my experience, and they will tell you themselves generally, that they are really good at contingencies, all of a sudden coming together and getting something done really quickly. But long-term planning is most Ukrainians will tell you is just not what they do culturally, historically, for very good historical reasons. Yeah, Richard Stevens, thank you for bringing that up about ordering. I need to add in. I have gone in on my new products, but I need to go through on every single product and just put in there. Orders will be processed in 6 to 8 weeks. That's what I need to put in there, really, to be honest, because I only have time, because it is just me. I only have time to go in and order all this stuff, process all of these things once a month. Realistically, I've had to come to the conclusion that I was trying to do it like once a week, and it just wasn't working. I wasn't able to sit down for enough time to get it done. So I have to go through basically once a month. I sit down, I order everything, and that includes these supplies that I'm sending to the units. But thank you for asking. Because in this world of Amazon, you get it delivered to you the day before you ordered it, practically. That's kind of like the expectations that we have, and unfortunately, things coming from Ukraine just go slower. I know some of you have received things from me. I know Paul Gilbert has, and he actually has a couple more items coming. But I believe it took about 2 weeks from the day I mailed it. So just Richard, do keep an eye on that. Keep me posted, because you'll get an email saying your order has been fulfilled, and it comes from my shop. It's when I actually click on, after I go to the post office and send the thing, I come back, sit down at my computer, and click fulfilled, and it sends you an email. From that time, when that email gets sent out, I'm going to be very interested, for those of you who are receiving some of these items. I'm very interested when you tell me how long it took to get to you, because you're all over the world, and but in my experience, it's about 2 weeks from the day that I send it off. And I mean, these are not drop shipped for the most part. I'm physically receiving them, putting them in my hands, packing them, walking them, or I guess I can ride them on my bicycle to the post office. And the post office people are so confused, and they only speak Ukrainian, and they're so confused by sending things internationally. It's like, usually the whole post office employee, all of them have to come and sit down at the computer and figure out how to do it. It's a little bit frustrating, somewhat humorous, but a little bit frustrating. But this is what I decided to do. So anyway, but thank you for asking, Richard. Yeah. So let's get into what's going on in America, guys. Speaking, and I don't have anything prepared on the Supreme Court. I was going to talk about that on Saturday, but this is the Supreme Court ruling, basically making the president a king. Okay. It's a disaster, and if Trump gets elected, I firmly believe it will be our last election in America. And speaking to, I had an interesting conversation with a couple of Ukrainians about this today, and they said, well, actually, American democracy has been a house of cards for a while, and now you guys are just seeing it for yourself. It was an interesting opinion. I tend to agree, I guess. I'm interested to see what you guys think. But now, on top of that, our great white hope, Joe Biden, for what it's worth, is not, basically. And it's too late to get anybody else in there. And I spoke about this, when we had Shere Khan on, we were talking about this. I think, I don't know what to think, to be honest. Apparently, it says this is a recent poll, but who knows, right? It says, so this is from Tuesday. Yeah, most voters think Democrats have a better chance of keeping the White House if Biden isn't the nominee. Mr. Squiggle, oh, hey, Leathercat. Good to see you, man. Or woman. Oh, you know what I mean. Sorry. Not enough coffee, I guess. I was awakened early by something, and now I'm pounding caffeine. Yeah, so, oh, hey, Miriam. Thanks for popping in. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, do you think, I mean, the only, legally, as far as I know, the only person who can replace Joe Biden is Kamala Harris. It's too late. It's too late. Oh, we have Mr. Dawson in here. Hello, hello. Awesome. Thank you for coming, by the way, and looking forward to Saturday. Um, I mean, but I mean, I know that you think, oh gosh, I'm just talking about politics, but this is, for Ukraine, from Ukraine's perspective, this is really serious. Um, I guess my prediction would be that, um, they're going to stand behind Biden until the very end. Um, and I mean I mean literally the end, the end of his life, or at least until he just had. And all I can say is um, I just hope that Kamala is ready to step in, you know. And it's good that she should be showing loyalty and not, like acting like she's waiting in the wings. But that is literally her job. Literally her job. Shirkan, it's an interesting question. Um, well, of course, they have no idea who Kamala Harris or anyone else in America is. Um, what they said was, well, let's hope that they don't put any faith in Trump. First of all, um, you know, Trump, the best he'll do is come. You know, it's funny. I mean, if you want to know, I think this is great. What Zelensky's basically calling Trump's bluff. You know, because Trump's saying I can end the war tomorrow. So Zelensky's all right. Like, show your cards, man. What do you got? You know. Yeah, Richard Stevens. I agree. And if that's, hey, you know what? I'd vote for the dirt on the bottom of my shoe before I'd vote for Trump. So, and I think a lot of people feel that way. But we're talking about a 1 or 2%. Well, this is a scary poll. Okay, we're showing Trump up. It may not be enough. It may not be enough. And so, yeah. So what Ukrainians have said, first of all, Ukrainians are not going to stop fighting. Okay, that's the thing to know. All right. Simple as. I toured today, right before this live stream. I toured um, I guess you would call it a Stepana Bandera museum. At some point, I will produce videos on it. But this was a museum from the 1950s, and I'm sorry, this was a secret Ukrainian independence, Ukrainian resistance cell location from the 1950s and 60s. Okay, like the Ukrainians basically never stopped fighting for their independence. At least some of them, a precious few. You know, and so if you think that the war is going to end, if you think that Zelensky could not end the war if he wanted to, he could not make the Ukrainians, uh, just sign a peace plan and give up. They won't do it. If he tried to do it, he'd be out on his ear faster than you could say, Bugatti. So what the Ukrainians that I spoke to about it today said is, maybe Europe can step in and cover things, and I'm like, dude, I mean, Europe's entire defense budget pales in comparison to the United States in terms of just Just go look at the Sierra Army Depot and see, or the Boneyard in Tucson, and see how much just raw hardware built up. Richard Stevens says, I don't trust polling. The 5 billionaires that own the mass media in America have their fingers in the punch bowl and can't be trusted. They win tax cuts if Trump wins. Yeah, Trump negotiated with the Taliban at Doha over the heads of the Afghan government. Yeah, he doesn't care about democracy. That's one thing. It's very, very clear. Well, so some of those. So Petra says, I can't believe those people who wants a liar and dictator for president. Well, okay. So I mean, I agree with you. Some of those people don't believe that Trump is going to be a dictator. I disagree. This is, if you don't know about this, and here I need to close some of my tabs because my poor laptop is going to blow up on me. Everybody should know about this, project2025.org. Okay. This, go read it. This is their agenda. So they're much more organized than they were the first time Trump got elected. Trump didn't even think he was going to win. He was just doing it to get the campaign contributions, both from the government and from people. He wasn't prepared to be president in any way, shape, or form. But now they are, and now he's got the entire extreme right-wing conservative movement behind him, and they're planning to crush democracy. Okay, the Heritage Foundation and all these other, old school guys, old school conservatives that have turned into total Trumpers. And they're all here. Bannon, Gorka, all of these, all of these whack jobs. And to be honest with you, I understand what their plan is, because this is what I grew up with. It was the idea that America, if it isn't a Christian nation, it should be. And, there's no belief in the separation of church and state. And, they want to turn it into an oligarchy, a kleptocracy. And that's the other thing, right, is I think that Trump wants to join the same club as Putin and Xi. That's why he always says glowing things about Putin and Kim Jong-un and all of these other dictators. Yes, there's a group of state attorney generals working on tying up Project 2025 in court. It is something. Yeah. On the other side, there's a bunch of Republican state attorney generals who are fighting to help Trump at every turn. So, yeah, Cheryl, I wonder how much damage rodents have done to those vehicles in the desert. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it's a fair point. Why does MAGA think that a totalitarian government won't outlaw their guns? Without the Constitution, there is no Second Amendment. Yeah, well, it's because they believe in prophecy. That's why. They have their own prophets, and they believe that the end times are coming, and that Jesus is gonna. I could go into it's a whole mythology that they have set up that in their minds that like I said, I grew up believing, and it's been around for since the late 70s, at least. So you've got those. You've got the rich conservative old oligarchs combined with the extreme conservatives, and I mean, I think that what they ultimately want to do is to make, they don't want to make America great again. They want to make America Russia again. You know, they want to go back to a managed democracy, basically, and that's what it's about. So, wait, what happened with my? Don't tell me my internet is going. Okay, I could get cut off at any moment, guys. Honestly, um, so this. Damn you, Politico! I don't want to deal with this. Um, so Trump's plan for NATO, all right, is kind of coming out, and we know what it is because he said it. Trump NATO plan, but it's basically America just withdrawing from the world. And the thing is what made America great? How are you going to make America great again by doing that? You know, like how does what made America great was after World War II, we stepped onto the world stage. And we stepped onto the world stage and created the what is it, the Bretton Woods Agreement, basically, ensured pa Americana, and Trump wants to take that away, and I'm not all about Team America World Police, okay, but we're going to get to that in a minute too. Okay, we need to get to that because in the meantime, Russia smells blood here. That's what's happening. Russia smells blood. So this is a very interesting article. I was talking about this last Sunday. Moscow hoists Soviet flags at Svalbard. Remember, if NATO and Russia are going to come to blows, there's a very good chance that it could happen on the Isle of Svalbard. And if you don't know where that is, hang on, let me. Let's see if I can. Okay, wait, let's see. Yeah, there we go. So I talked about it last time. Isle of Svalbard is up here. It's controlled by Norway. It's smaller than it looks here because of the way Mercator map is projected. It's a revised Mercator map, but whatever. It's small. The island is smaller than that, but it's a pretty substantial plot of land. And Russia doesn't actually control any of it, I guess, but they rent a big part of it, but they still have laid claims to it. Okay, and the fact that they are basically hoisting their flag is basically saying, yeah, we're this is the place where we're going to attack. It sounds crazy that they're going to do that, but what they want here is the oil, the coal, a lot of the natural resources that are up here, and its strategic place facing Russia's main oil ports in the north, which is Arkhangelsk right here. So, right, yeah, Trump. Well, yeah, Trump's father supported Hitler. So Richard Stevens says Trump and MAGA want a unified Reich, not the United States. Yeah, so this is a very important point. So you said, Richard, IMHO, in my humble opinion, Biden should invoke the Insurrection Act and put down the rebellion. That's what it is now, a rebellion against the Constitution. I mean, a lot of people are saying, hey, so Biden can use SEAL Team 6 now. Why didn't take out Trump and half the Supreme Court with him? Why not do that? But then that is also the death of our democracy, right? So it's just an awful place to be, really. It's an awful place to be. And I'm sorry, I don't have any good news on that. We can't give in to despair. We have to fight politically, but also maybe go and get your gun license, okay? Because I'm going to tell you right now that the people on the right in America, there's a lot of them, and I mean I've known a few left-wing gun nuts in my time, but the most of them are Trump followers, okay, and they have a lot of guns. And if Trump loses the election, I do believe it's going to become a violent insurrection. Right. So Biden can just claim immunity and pardon himself. So how does that help our democracy? You know what I mean? Like, I want that too, right? So Biden could do all these things and then claim immunity, pardon himself, and then what? That teaches us a lesson, actually we have these rules for a reason. And Biden's old enough that he wouldn't go to jail. So yeah, Shere Khan says there is no need to throw guns into the mix of what's becoming an ever-growing hatred amongst the extremists here. I mean, I hate to tell you this, Shere Khan, but the guns are already in the mix. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm sorry, guys. Because the thing about it is that, and this is true in the EU as well. I would generally say liberals, Democrats, they prefer to follow the law. The centrist Democrats. Yeah, there is some corruption and things, but for the most part, we want to have faith in the law working. But these guys, I'm talking about these guys here, but I'm counting Trump among them. Yeah, Shere Khan, that's I know this, but I will never encourage violence. Yeah, well, I agree. Yeah, exactly, Leathercat. If Biden tries to use force to eliminate the fascist regime, he would be no better than the fascists, and the ultra-right would use that as an excuse for open civil war in the United States. Look, our country, and this is what I was talking with the Ukrainians earlier today, our country has been sliding, doesn't matter who, Democrat or Republican, our country has been sliding into fascism since 9/11. If not before, but since 9/11, sliding in that direction. Bell says, I would advise people to take gun handling classes just to be familiar. Classes, practice, get you're comfortable with your weapon of choice. Yeah, but some of us prefer swords. But yeah, Shere Khan, absolutely. I agree with you. I hope that when the insurrection does, okay, let's predict the best case scenario, and Biden or Kamala wins. There will be a violent insurrection. Let's hope that our armed forces, or part of our armed forces, don't join in that insurrection. Okay, because there is a percentage of our armed forces who is on that side. And in general, I have faith in our armed forces to not do any of that. And also, I have faith in that if Biden tried to use force to eliminate the attempted fascist regime, those in our armed forces would stand up and say no. Even if it was SEAL Team 6, I think SEAL Team 6 would say no. But yeah, anyway. But this is what I'm talking about here. This is just an example that I came across. So EU rebuffs threat of Beijing probe, stands by foreign subsidies law. Maybe this doesn't seem like it's relevant, but it is. So the European Commission has dismissed China's announcement that it could launch an investigation into EU executives' alleged misuse of anti-subsidy legislation, saying the framework fully respects business confidentiality rules. The point here is that this is a trade issue, okay, and it's really what it's talking about is there. China, this is incredibly ironic. China is accusing the EU of stealing trade secrets, okay, from China. Now, for years, at least 30 years now, China has been doing exactly that. Okay, they've been stealing trade secrets, stealing intellectual property, and especially in the last 10 years. Shere Khan says, I don't believe there will be an insurrection. I believe we need to chill amongst us peoples and vote out the true enemies. I agree with you. Let us hope. Yeah. Okay. So, but the point I'm trying to make here is that China and people like this are willing to act illegally. They have no moral scruples. It's winner take all, and it doesn't matter. And that's how Trump thinks too. Oh, doorbell before 8 a.m. Ooh. It's either the cops, Dr. Dawson, or it's the Jehovah's Witnesses. But so basically, and Russia is doing the same thing. I think I brought up an article, maybe it was last Sunday, about Russian oligarchs are suing in the EU to regain access to their sanctioned and rightfully confiscated property. Greetings, Apatox. Thanks for coming. So they're, it's the thing, right? So if we say, okay, well, we're going to do whatever it takes, even if that means, breaking the law, or to quote Dickless Cheney, going to the dark side, then we become this. So it sucks. And in the meantime, I don't know if you guys knew about this. So Ukraine has a bunch of loans, okay? And they come due August 1st, or Ukraine will go into default. I don't know what the total of the loans is, but it's a lot, okay? And, it just shows you how much is riding on outside assistance. Ukraine needs an extra $9.5 billion this year to fund key recovery efforts. That's on top of all of the other contributions. I mean, war is expensive. Being attacked in the war is expensive. And so this is coming from the International Monetary Fund. I'm hoping that it can be restructured, but a lot of people are saying no. So what happens when Ukraine goes into default? What happens then? it's, according to the IMF, Ukraine would just about make ends meet if it implemented the radical restructuring that bondholders, so the restructuring of the loan that bondholders have rejected. So the bondholders, I don't know who those bondholders are, but I think they need to obviously back off. And in the meantime, here we are, right? Hungary stepping into the EU presidency for 6 months. Good God. So, fuck's sake, 6 months. So that's going to be like, and guys, I'm sorry that I'm not speaking about the UK elections today. I'm just not. I'll talk about them on Saturday once everything washes out. Okay, but that's up in the air too. Like, what the hell? When I said like chess pieces are moving on the board, it's like 6 people are playing on the board and they're all moving chess pieces at the same time. Make Europe great again. Oh God. So this is all going to happen. July? Okay, so when is it? Is it July 1st or August 1st that Orban or that Hungary takes the anyway, so we'll count, right? July, August, September, October, November, December. So yeah, so at least through the elections, so Hungary's going to have a veto on all kinds of stuff, and this is an incredibly. I know that a lot of the votes on funding have already happened, right? But so this package of aid from frozen assets has already been voted on and sent, and there won't be another one for like another 6 months. But what happens when Ukraine needs more? What happens when Ukraine needs more? So right, Herb. That's kind of what I'm saying. Is it's yeah, Leathercat. I agree. I agree. Why is Orban being allowed to take control of the EU? And basically, the other countries are just trying to mitigate this disaster. But at a certain point, when are we going to say, you know what? Okay, screw the law. These guys are enemies, and Orban is a mole for Putin and Xi Jinping, and he needs to be kicked out of NATO and the EU. And I understand keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. I understand that, but it's so individual EU countries are doing things, and I know this may have been talked about already, but 3 countries started. I know others have talked about it. Is what I mean. 3 countries started a joint mine hunting force in the Black Sea. Countries just have their own individual. Yes, Bell. Orban was a keynote speaker at the RNC years ago, and actually the RNC has their conference in Hungary. So I can't remember the name of the conference, but yeah, and it's happening. Thank you, Paul. It's happening at the same time that Russia is head of the UN Security Council. And so we're blindly following these rules, and maybe sometimes, maybe sometimes we need to be a little bit flexible. because this could be that's a bad combination. Right, Paul. At some point, we have to say, if you're not with us, you're against us. I don't know what else to do about it, because if they're going to, keep taking advantage of our belief in the rule of law. But this is a positive thing. I don't mean to be all negative about everything. I mean, basically, so Bulgaria, Romania, Turkey, which are the main states besides Georgia, Russia, and Ukraine, who border the Black Sea. So they are, started the mine hunting force, and this makes sense because wait, where's my? Yeah. So you must understand that especially when the Kakhovka Dam. So the Russians had mined this river, and I don't know, maybe the Ukrainians too, but this river was heavily mined. When the Kakhovka Dam here broke, a lot of those mines were broken loose and got washed out, and they've been found all over the Black Sea coast, and floating just all over the place. And so it's in the interest of those countries it also happens to be in the interest of Ukraine to maintain shipping of grain, which is great. But ultimately, I think that it might just come down, this whole thing just might come down to every man for themselves, and those who have an interest in Ukraine are going to help Ukraine. Those who have an economic interest in Ukraine winning are going to help Ukraine. And that is exactly why Ukraine's been, going around making all these bilateral agreements with individual countries, because they don't count on, they can't count on the EU. They can't count on NATO. Can't even count on America. Right. Why is there no mechanism to remove these fascist countries from NATO, UN, and EU? Because when the EU, when NATO, and the UN were set up, if they had included that mechanism, these organizations probably would never have been set up, because those countries would never have agreed to enter into it if there was a chance that they could be removed. Yeah, Mary, and that's a good point. I mean, that needs to be pressed. As far as I know, Soviet Union was a member of the UN and not the Russian Federation. Exactly. And that is something that needs to be pressed in the UN, but it's not going to be pressed now, not while the Soviet Union is, the neo-Soviet Russian Federation. This is interesting. Okay, I'm reading the 72 Marsh Flower. Okay. U.S. once backed the Nazis as controlled opposition to reestablish Israel and weaken the USSR. You're just a liar. 72 Marshmallow. You're just a freaking liar. But keep saying lies, please. I love it when orc trolls come in here. You're idiots. No, listen. 72 marshmallows. You know who the U.S. backed? The U.S. backed the Soviet Union. Okay, we're the reason that you survived World War II, dipshit. So suck on. All right. Anyway. Oh, that's right. What is it that Big Mac likes to say? Idi nahoy zalupa. That's what I say to you, sir. You can prove it with my ass. yeah, please, 72 marshmallows. Please prove that. But let's continue. This is I want to talk about something good here, right? Poland opens the door for Ukrainian railways. Now, I don't know how. Why can I not see these comments that we're talking about? Oh, Shir Khan. You may have blocked him earlier, Shirkan, but also if you have, it's really annoying. YouTube does this thing where it sets you to top comments instead of all comments. Every time you refresh the page or reload the page at all. Yes, thank you, Keith Kane. Lend lease. Yeah, you guys. You know what? I don't even need to talk about lend lease. You guys can prove it. Yes, thank you, Anna. I am working on my Ukrainian and Russian curse words, cursing. It's an important part. Yeah. So Bell, exactly. So Shirkan, you have to put it to like all messages instead of top messages, and you have to do it you have to redo it every time you load the page. Yeah, UN and EU need to adapt to outside and internal threats. The whole system is flawed, and our enemies will use that against us. And I don't know how this is going to, Mr. Squiggle. I am in the mood for trolling. Which marsh did you grow in? Well, probably Moscow, because Moscow was a marsh when Kiev was founded. My late grandma could recall the Nazi rallies being held in Lodi, California, and across the U.S. when she was a child. Yeah, yes. You're talking about the America First rallies. The America First, like Trump. But you know what? The America First didn't win. They didn't win. They didn't win the elections. They never were a large percentage of the your grandma. You don't, dude. Oh, okay. So you know something about Lodi, California? Please, 72 marshmallows. Tell me about Lodi, California. Tell me what you know about Lodi, California. That's what I want to know. Okay. What is this? Havara Agreement 1930 proves the Nazis worked. Oh my God, you guys. He says here, this orc troll says some agreement of 1933 proves the Nazis worked with the Zionists. This is nuts, dude. Wow. Okay, whatever, dude. You're funny. You're making me laugh. Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you. There we go. Mr. Squiggle. 72 marshmallows. Do you have empathy for Russia's kidnapping Ukrainian children? What do you think about that? All right. Okay, so now you're just trying to derail things. Shut up. Stop talking about stupid crap like that, or I'm going to delete you. I don't give a crap. We're talking about Ukraine here. STFU. Stay on subject, or I boot you. Got it? If you want to provide Russian propaganda, if you want to provide arguments about Ukraine or against the Ukraine war or whatever, you can do that, but you're not going to talk about all this other bullshit. Okay? So, yeah. Okay, so this is great. All right, Poland opens the door for Ukrainian railways. Okay, this is fantastic because I've been Paul, aliens are real too. That's great. I've been bitching about Poland. I think a lot of us have been bitching about Poland, effectively, and not just Poland, but Slovakia and Hungary, effectively economically blockading Ukraine, which is the stupidest thing they could do. Months of blockades on the Polish-Ukrainian border have long shut the door for much of Kyiv's transport to the EU. However, a positive change has just now arrived. Poland is opening the door for Ukrainian transportation rather significantly by granting Ukrainian railways a license to operate on its market. That's freaking awesome. Okay, because rail logistics way better than trucks. And I had another article. I don't think I saved it, but I had another article about actually the first train has already entered Poland from Ukraine. So this happened on the 27th of June, and it's really fantastic. Now the problem with it is, Mr. Squiggle, Can you 72 marshmallows? Can you direct me to your drug dealer, or are you on prescription that we can't get? Yeah, that's great. But this is really great. Now, the question not I'm not so sure about is uh, the fact that Ukrainian trains, because they were uh, laid out and built under the Soviet Union, uses a different gauge of railway, and so they have to do this whole crazy thing to transfer um, transfer loads over. I don't know how the hell they're going to do that. You know, that's crazy. I mean, it's a lot. That's a lot of work to do, but it's still more efficient than using trucks, even if they have to transfer every little freaking thing. Maggie, thanks for coming. You didn't miss the stream. No, you're good. You're all good. Thanks for coming. Dual rail undercarriage. Yeah, maybe somebody will invent something, or maybe there's something already developed. Mitch, I'm not a train guy, but it's a big deal. It's interesting, this article here. Amid looming threat of Polish border blockades, UZ, that's the Ukrainian rail company. UZ asks, why not rail? Why not ship goods via rail? It's great. So, good things are happening. It's not all gloom and doom, guys. We have hope here. There is hope. There's awesome things being done with drones, and I can tell you, I'm not ready to talk about it yet. He says, Mr. Squid, I'm an American born and raised, trafficked by corrupt U.S. courts as a toddler. Oh, so you were born in Russia. That's your line. That's your line. You were born in Russia and you were adopted. Is that okay? Well, you're lying. Tell me about Lodi, though. You know something about Lodi? Tell me about Lodi, California. You said your grandmother is from Lodi, so you must live in Northern California. Tell me about Northern California. 72 marshmallows. If you know about if you actually are in America, born and raised. Wait a minute. Wait. I'm an American born and raised, trafficked by corrupt U.S. courts as a toddler. Well, wait a minute. No, all right. You just lied right there. You can't be born and raised if you were trafficked. All right, you're just lying. Anyway, let's go back to something cool. Patoshka Drones launches homing system enabling autonomous FPV drone operations. Ukrainian company Patoshka Drones, a homing system. This is really freaking awesome, guys. Okay, because a huge problem, okay, is that orc interference. Orc interference is massive out there and prevents a lot of these drones from hitting their target. So this system will basically, once the drone gets in close enough to point to a spot, then the drone can just take over at the last minute. Yeah, Maggie, we're live. We are live. You did not miss the stream, Maggie. You thought you did. Oh, I understand because it says at the top of it really bothers me that it says restream. Like, so people think that it's like not a live stream. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Lying. So sorry, I got distracted by our orc troll today. 72 marshmallows with his crazy stories. Hey, is the Earth flat too? No, Maggie, you made it. Good job. You get an extra point. Say hello to our orc troll today. Okay, so the main difficulty in implementing the homing system is the high cost of components. At the same time, the company claims that the cost of their homing system is $200. I mean, that's, I bet, and I'm sure that that cost will come down, just like the cost of drones has come down a great deal. It's good. It's a good thing. I'm just happy to see it, and it does look like it kind of adds a lot of weight to the end of a drone, which will of course reduce the range. But I'm sure that over time this will improve. This will improve. So, but at the same time, the orcs are doing the same thing. So obviously they caught a Switchblade, a U.S. drone, and have copied it, probably in a low quality way, but they're trying. It's a cat and mouse game. I thought this one is pretty funny, but we know that Russia has been using balloons, but now they're trying to use balloons with nets. So on the front line, they want to put up balloons that that fly above the front lines and hang nets down here. Each balloon of the Berry system can lift 30 kilograms of payload, and the entire structure can reach a maximum height of 300 meters. So in other words, it's 300 meters of net, essentially. It's interesting. I don't think it's going to work, but I guess we'll find out. Aerostats. Yeah. I guess aerostat means that it goes up in the air and it stays in one place. I mean, they're already being used for reconnaissance by the Russians, but this is interesting. At the same time, this is very interesting. Okay. Washington has replaced its reconnaissance drones over the Black Sea with manned jets amid Russian threats. So in other words, you guys remember this scene where a couple of SU, whatever they are, Russian jets, or is it one jet, I think, knocked a $25 million drone, U.S. drone, out of the air over the Black Sea. And as I recall, the Russians got to it first and salvaged it as it was sinking, which also sucks. But this was a reconnaissance drone. And so Russia has been repeatedly saying that they were going to start shooting down U.S. drones over the Black Sea. So this is pretty interesting, right? So now I saw some. I'm not going to bring it up on my computer right now, but there is a map of NATO country flight reconnaissance flight patterns. Yeah, and you can see all of the drones covering, all the areas that they fly, the drones and the flight. So anyway, what I'm saying here is that America is we're putting our own people in harm's way now. Okay, this is a bigger step than you guys probably realize. This is a really big step, and I'm going to talk about where this is going, I think. But I want to get into just briefly talking about air defense, because this is also related. So the Ukrainian S-125 air defense system shot down a Caliber, which is freaking amazing. So these are cheap old Soviet Union from the 1960s, and the fact that it was able to shoot down the best of what Russia has is pretty amazing. But also, Maggie, about the mine clearing Yeah, they did, but I don't think it was like a concerted effort between all three countries. I think Turkey was doing mine clearing. It was kind of, but now it's like an organized thing. So, um, yeah. So this is pretty awesome. Okay, I've been on about the Hawk missile for a long time, and the reason I've been on about it is because there's at least 40,000 of them floating around the world. Um, Paul, over the Black Sea, the drones were not escorted by jets, but now it's just jets doing it. Probably maybe F-35s. I don't know. I don't know what the article said. Um, I don't think Russia will know. you know, um, but yeah. So this I'm they're cheap. These so the Hawk air defense. The beef. They were the Patriot is the successor to the Hawk, and the Hawk systems have about something like a 50 to 60% kill rate. But for something slow and loud like a Shahed, it's great. It's fantastic, and there's so many. There's like 40,000 of them that can be provided to Ukraine. So, it's her. Oh, you're going to build a model of the Hawk? That's funny. I've been looking at like model sets and children's toys here, and there's a lot of them that there's some where they have like air. I might buy one if I can find one that is. I don't know if it's going to be a Hawk or one of these Su-25s, but they do have them here in Ukraine. Okay, I got to take a minute, guys, because this is amazing news, and this is where I'm going to get into the meat of our discussion here. But I have to pee. Why don't you guys talk to 72 marshmallows here before I delete him? And I will be right back, guys. Sorry. Oh. Oh yeah, Philippe, you make a good point there. Bots get paid by response. So yeah, I wonder though. 72 marshmallows. Shut up about the right wing. I'm deleting you. I already told you. That's your warning. Uh-huh. And you're gone. Goodbye. They only get one warning. But it was fun. Philippe, bots get paid by response, but I wonder how that works, right? Because what do they do? Do they have to like take a screenshot of the response and then? Yeah, I know, right? I'm yeah. It's because I'm an Aquarius, I'm a triple Aquarius, by the way. I don't really know what that means. But and by the way, guys, 72 Marshmallows can still see you. You just can't see any of his chats. So he can yell all he wants and it doesn't make a difference. But anyway, the thing I was wondering about that Philippe brought up is how the orc trolls get paid, because I don't know, they must have like take a screenshot and they send it to their supervisor at the end of the day, like the end of an 8 or 10 hour shift or whatever, and they just have all these screenshots to prove that they did their work. I don't know. I you know how else they would do it. Yeah, thank you, Leathercat. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, he's just full of shit. I can smell a lie like a fart in a car. You know what I mean? So anyway, moving on. Thank you guys very much for, if Rick the Ukrainian can do it, God damn it, then I can do it. So he takes pee breaks all the time. This is a big deal, right? U.S. to redirect Patriot air defense orders to Ukraine until it has enough to defend itself. This is freaking rad. This is awesome. I'm sure there's some companies and countries that are a little bit pissed off about this, but I think that there is something else at play, something else at work here, as to why the U.S. is planning to send so many more. You guys are having too much fun. So many more Patriots. And dun to the dun dun dun. I think it's this. If this page ever loads. There we go. Pentagon moves to allow U.S. military contractors in Ukraine. This is this is the whole subject, the main title of my presentation today. Okay. Now, those of you who might have made Afghanistan know a lot about military contractors. Sometimes they've had a bad reputation. Now, Philippe, that's separate from the Patriots from Israel. By the way, Philippe, you brought up something earlier. You brought up something earlier. Oh, about negotiations to liberate POWs. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to talk about that today, but remind me. I'll try to have something prepared on Saturday, because I really want to get to this. So, U.S. record, you're free to disagree with me on that. Other people probably know more. Sorry, I have to close some tabs here because my computer is like freaking out. I'm surprised I even still have internet right now, because it drops off suddenly sometimes. Usually in the middle of teaching my classes, it's been dropping off. But this is contractors are good for Ukraine. Yes, I agree with you. I don't. It might be. I mean, Halliburton is still, as I understand, like the #1 U.S. defense contractor. They do all kinds of things, everything from spoons to oil wells. And sorry, I'm still reading your guys' posts about 72 marshmallows. It's really, keep going, guys. Keep going. It's funny. It's a good thing for Ukraine. And like I said, I was talking today with a couple of Ukrainians about this and the other issues that we discussed previously. And they're like, yeah, Ukraine needs all the help it can get, but it's a slippery slope, right? I mean, I would rather that Biden just say, you know what, we're sending American troops to Ukraine. That's what's happening here, right? Instead of this kind of backwards, half-assed sliding, you know, uh, uh, bucking like a wild horse, dipping a toe in, you know. I mean, you're free to disagree. This is a complex issue here, okay? And I'm curious. I really, those of you who did serve in Iraq and maybe served alongside some contractors or have some experience, you know, I am talking out my ass. I will completely agree with you on that, if you believe so. And but here's the thing. Here's the question that this is the question that I posed in my thumbnail for this live stream. Okay. I'm thinking of my friend. By the way, I'm thinking of this guy. Okay. This guy was out there on the, you know, near the front line. Okay. I don't mean like the zero line, but you know, they have camps or they live in town. They'll you know, rent an apartment in towns near the front line. Okay. Villages, close enough that they can get there in a short period of time. And you know, there's like stores and productees. That's what they call like a little. We would say a convenience store. They call it productee, or a magazine. They call it. Yes, let's see. Shirkan, I think you often hear about the failures of contractors, not the success. Yeah, no, I actually, I think it's a good thing for Ukraine. I really, really do. We need this. Okay, we need this, and I think it's going to be great. Okay, I hope that these guys come here and they're probably going to be repairing all the Patriots and the Abrams and the F-16s. You know, and maybe the Bradleys as well. Okay, so all these Patriots are going to need repair teams. I'm hoping that this is a precursor, a preamble to America sending a fuck ton of Abrams and a bunch of other equipment. Maybe that's what's been holding Biden back so much, because he's like, oh my God, if we send all this stuff that's like Cheryl said, all this, you know, rodent gnaw eaten equipment that's been sitting out in the desert for so many years. Yeah, we'll repair them to a degree, but there's going to have, you know, there's going to be problems, right? So, but here's the flip side of that. These contractors also are going to need their own security, their own defense. I think that one reason that America is now sending more Patriots and air defense in general is because these contractors, let's say that they are repairing F-16s or Abrams or something like that, they're going to need air defense because they're going to be a major target for Russia. So that brings more contractors that need to come. Now, all of those contractors who are fixing stuff and repairing stuff and handling the logistics of stuff, they need security. They need security. Okay. And those security guys are, when we think about contractors, the ones that have like Shere Khan, we were talking about, you know, having a bad reputation, then we're thinking about like BlackRock, you know, wait, no, Blackwater. Sorry, wrong conspiracy theory. Blackwater, among others, which arguably was kind of a template for Wagner, among other private military companies, PMCs. So these guys are not necessarily beholden to the same rules as not just American soldiers, but ZSU soldiers. to it. My friend, for example, if you're not basically on the zero line or headed to it, you're not allowed to carry a weapon. If you are as they say, a Ukrainian soldier or a legionnaire, I think you can get a special permit to carry a weapon like a handgun if it's yours. But most of the time, when they are not on the zero line, they have to check their weapons in with, like, the squad or something has a, like a depot that's under lock and key by the commander. And so my friend, who we are supporting and buying a car, and you guys have been awesome, he was walking out there, going to the magazine to buy something, and he was approached by a group of drunk, what's the word? How do you say the ones who wait? Jdun. Jduni. Okay? The Jduni are basically the small percentage of Ukrainians who support Russia. And out there in these towns close to the zero line, they're, the ones who are out there, most people, okay, who could leave these war-torn areas have left already. They're out, okay? The ones who have stayed there are there because they are absolutely fundamentally incapable of leaving for one reason or another, because they're just too old, or they're waiting for the Russians, and they believe in Russia. And just like when I was out in Henethanun in the east, remember, in Ithilien, meeting with the drone laboratory, someone approached the drone laboratory I was meeting with and said that they were going to call the Russians and tell them I was there, that they were harboring an American. It only takes one out of 100. But out here in the East especially, these are the people who were the most active, most subjected, and continue to be subjected to the most Russian propaganda. Okay. Now, what happened to our friend here is he was walking to the convenience store, and a group of Jduni approached him, drunk and angry, and tried to start a fight with him, and maced him, sprayed him with pepper spray in the face. And they were trying to punch him and trying to fight him. I guess he was alone. Normally, we, as foreigners, we always go 2 by 2. He had to pull out a knife. And then they all ran away. I don't know what you think, but I think that some U.S. security contractor out there, because the guys who are doing these repairs, let's say if they're doing repairs for Abrams, or they're doing repairs for Patriots, maybe the F-16 guys will be back here somewhere. Maybe they'll just be F-16 guys. But I think that it might start off with just being F-16 repair teams in the East. But I think not before too long, we're gonna send more and more and more of our contractors. Okay, and they're going to need. Thank you, Anna. Wussies. Yeah, Martin, like Slava Ukraina, Heroam Slava. Absolutely. But it's like mission creep, right? And again, I'm not saying it's bad. Not saying it's bad. We need it. Ukraine needs it. It's a slow walk that the U.S. is doing. But so what's going to happen when a bunch of, drunken Zduni approach a lone U.S. security contractor out here in, let's say they're in a safer one of these safer cities off the front line, like Sloviansk or Kramatorsk. Maybe there's a repair station. I don't know. You're not getting OPSEC out of me, but I have no idea. But maybe there's a repair station in one of these, kind of close enough to the front line that they can haul an Abrams back here and repair it somewhere in some hidden spot. But he's walking, he's going, and he gets approached by some drunken guy who wants to punch him in the face or something like that. And that does happen. Most drunks in Ukraine are friendly and too friendly. But out here, I've heard many stories. Okay. What's going to happen is that drunk Ukrainian Russia supporter is going to get shot. Okay. And if there's more than one, oh, by the way, yeah, why the people? Thank you for coming. Yeah, happy 4th of July, everybody. I know it's kind of good that I'm doing this early for you guys, because now you can go out and celebrate independence. So this is why I'm asking the question: who are they going to kill first? Those security guys. I hate to say this, but it's not going to be the Russians. It's going to be some Ukrainians. But here's the flip side of that. So I proposed this to my the Ukrainians I was speaking to this morning, and I laid out this scenario for them, and they said their first response was, "And what is minus?" That was the response. What is minus? So I don't think it's going to cause this, when this does happen, I don't think it's going to cause the sort of international incident that it did in Iraq. But we need to be prepared as Americans. And happy Independence Day. We need to be prepared as Americans for when the time comes, because who's going to get a hold of this story is Russian propaganda. Okay, Russian propaganda is going to come out, and then ironically enough, Republicans are going to come out and say Americans are killing Ukrainians. Thank you, Herb. That's a very great statement. This holiday brought to you by folks with guns that said hell no. At this point, it's more like Codependence Day here in the U.S. Yeah, well, we talked about that earlier. Let's. So this is the point of my, just looking at the percentage of Ukrainians who support Russia. It's very small, but out in those areas on near, in these towns out here, especially the areas that were previously occupied, maybe like Sloviansk. Well, no, Sloviansk wasn't actually occupied, was it? It was close, though. It was real close. Maybe Izium. These towns that are all in the green here on the map. Okay. We need to be prepared for this to happen, is what I'm saying. Leathercat, what do you want to bet one of those traitors, Vatnik orcs, is responsible for what happened to Pete? And the thing is I was talking about this again with the Ukrainians, and like, why doesn't the SBU just go and round them all up? The SBU has a lot of things. The SBU is like the FBI here in Ukraine. The SBU has a lot of things on their minds, okay, to do. And frankly, out here in some of these towns, it's arguably, it's a little bit of a wild west situation. Interesting. Richard Stevens, the U.S. first soldier to be killed by the British was a black free man. at the Boston Massacre. I did not know that. Canti, just remember that U.S. started because we were upset about paying 7% tax. If we were that pissed about 7%, imagine how we feel now about 37%. Yes, but that is for the top tax bracket. I believe that the top tax bracket, like the top 1% of income, needs to be much higher. But then for those of us who make, less than $100,000 a year, it should be much lower. And then I think things need to be evened out in that way. To have I think we need to go back to having a tax regime that we did under Eisenhower. That's what I think. 93% for the highest tax bracket. I talked about that last week. And then much lower for everybody else. Nigel Farage could be prime minister next. May have to escape to Ukraine. No, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Keir Starmer, you guys. But maybe the next election after that, it might be Nigel Farage. Right. Okay. So that was my big finale, everybody. Is to bring this up and get you guys all thinking about this concept, get you prepared, and get you prepared to prepare others. Go out there, go forth to your barbecues and your sidewalk fireworks, and prepare people for what's coming. Because I hope Shere Khan is right, but I'm not sure. I have some other minor things to talk about, but I think I'm going to save them for Saturday. Saturday, guys, I'm going to be back home, and I don't know. I do want to talk about one last thing. I don't know. Did everybody read my? I guess you call it a eulogy for Pete. If you didn't, this is President Zelensky. I'm not going to talk about it today. It's funny. It's hilarious. I'm not going to talk about it today. I will go to it, and if you didn't read it, I've been doing a lot more community posts, so maybe it got swamped. So I guess I'll share it with you today. Anna, you're going back to bed after this? I sat down the morning after I found out, and I just wrote. No spell checker even. I was actually using voice to text, I think. I can't remember. Okay, come on, James. Wow, I post way too much on my community tab. I've been going crazy with it. Here we go. So this is what I say. I've already had many friends die in this war, one of whom you knew. Just remember, there are good people, really amazing people, dying for freedom and democracy every day in this war. People just like Pete, who you'll never know. Pete was one of the rare ones, the precious among those few, willing to literally stick his neck out and be a public face for the war in Ukraine, because he knew it was so important, and everyone's reactions in the UA-Tube community shows it. It's one thing to support a cause in a faraway land. It's entirely another when you feel like you know the person, when you follow their travails and tribulations through good and bad. Most of the valiant men and women fighting here are not willing to be that public face, for fear of being more of a target to the Russians, or have their families targeted even in the US. reprisals from their own country's governments, even those who support Ukraine, or even just being judged by the whirlwind of hate that the internet can be. It takes courage to step out, maybe even more for some than facing orcs' artillery shells. And that is one reason why Pete was so important for Ukraine and the world. He was the connection for many people, the raw, visceral connection to this war. Just understand this. We here in Ukraine have that raw, visceral connection every day. Our family, friends, neighbors are dying, walking wounded, shell-shocked, scarred. It is my hope that someone else can step forward for Pete. I never saw him in person, but I know his shoes are big ones to fill. So that's all I have to say, guys. Slava Ukraine. Happy 4th of July. Sorry, Cheryl. That's where I'm ending. Go out and find some good in the world, is what I will say. It's out there. It's out there. Don't worry. Do what you can. Support who you can. And if you're here, if you're watching this, you're already doing good work. And you're already doing what Pete would want you to do on some level. So, do побачення.